at this party, I'm literally dancing with like my butt obnoxiously like out, and I feel two butts, and I turn around and it's literally Paul McCartney and Dave Grohl, and the three of us are just like rubbing our butts like a bunch of idiots. Ran to the corner, was like, oh no. I have learned from a very young age, if you treat everybody like a hero, they'll show up and be one.
Lordy, lordy, lordy.
Lordy, lordy, lordy.
It's happened.
Indeed.
We're here.
We're here.
It's so funny. We've like started having our good friends on and just like the cool people we know. And we're like, but it's like been a long time coming. And like, we're always like, once we sit down, we're like, oh, we're doing it. I get to like find out all the things about you. So I'm excited.
Yeah, honestly, I don't, maybe this is for me, but podcasts are so cool because you can have your friends on. And for some reason, we just weren't having everyone on. We were like, not
You
selective.
gotta work your way
just
into
like,
it, you know? I think it's like a ripple, right?
Yeah.
You know, you gotta.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a ripple, but like, it's like you can have literally whoever you want on. You know?
We like started and it was like just us.
It's a lot of power.
I know. Yeah.
Recently, we like decided to pivot and we're like, one of like, you know, it's just like what you're into and your strengths. I was like, our strengths are all of our friends.
Totally.
And our friends' friends are some of the coolest people we know.
Completely
Like, we
agree.
don't have to go to
feel
New
the
York.
same way.
We don't have to go in the all over the world. I'm like, we have the coolest friends. Why are we not having all of them on?
Right.
And so that's where we're at. So, hey guys, welcome back to the
Hello.
Saucy Sibz. I just had a memory from yesterday. He
What?
goes, sometimes you do a little newscaster.
Oh, I mean, kind of. Well, okay.
I can
Like,
see
you know,
it,
like when you're
for
on
sure.
the phone, like you have a phone voice.
Yeah.
You kind of have like a phone voice or
Mhm.
on the
Yeah.
podcast. Yeah. That wasn't a criticism. I just,
No, it's
Yeah.
it's a great skill to have.
mm-hmm,
You know?
It is.
Sometimes I go a little too host, but everyone that's here knows, welcome back to the Saucy Sibz. And you guys, we are here with our friend Alison Danger Foley. Been trying to have her on a podcast for a while. She's a hard lady to nail down. And you're just everywhere and so busy. So thank you
Oh my gosh.
for
I'm
taking the
so
time.
stoked to be here. You guys are a riot.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
For real. It's really
Yeah.
fun.
And you guys, we're rocking sock vibes. We are at our friend's club. We're at Zodiac Hause, so sponsored by Zodiac Hause today. We actually have our Burning Man fundraiser, which we weren't supposed to work today. They text us and we're like, hey, can you bartend today? And I was like, that's fine. But like, we have a podcast with Allison and we're not moving that. And they were like, all right, host it here. Then come help us. And we were like, all
I'm
right.
like, okay.
So here we are.
Yeah.
And it's honestly the coolest. I'm not mad about it.
I agree. And like, it's like plush and it's loungy. I love location too. Like just being, I love our studio.
Coming at you live
Yeah.
from Zodiac House.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I would do it on
Be your
like
co-host.
I would love to like podcast like from a bus, like a moving bus. Like I don't know, like I just love anywhere that you could be.
Different backdrops.
Different backdrops.
Yep. I think you guys should do it.
I know.
Right.
I'm
Should,
gonna
I
do
think you might get a bus.
I know. I'm like, oh no. And I'm like, now that's in the universe.
Saucy
Tour
Sibz
bus.
on the
Saucy
road.
Sibz
On
bus.
the road. Give me a tour bus and
You know
it's
the
over
podcast
for the country.
actually started from our car. We lost our housing in Aspen. We started living out of my Chevy Equinox together with
It's
Za.
a close sibling relationship.
No.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Like
And we would podcast in the front seat. We would literally just park it, podcast. And when I'm saying like, all of everything we owned was in the car because we had to move out.
yeah.
So we had to sleep on top of it. Small car, crossover. And then we're this close to like the ceiling of the car. We had to crawl on top of all of our stuff and go to sleep in like Walmart
Like a
parking
nightmare.
lots.
It's like being in a like an enclosed space like
Yeah.
that. You can't if you wake
with
up
your, with
quickly.
your sibling too. It's like we're
Yeah.
not cuddly. We're not like a close.
Yeah.
So it's like over there, Zaz in the middle. Nick's like, your dog's touching me. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And like also in our intro, it sounds like wine's pouring. We literally would be like, we'd podcast from the front seat, set everything up. We didn't have video at the time. And then we would like crack a bottle of wine. And then so that wine pouring sound, I literally put the microphone to it and that's it. So, you know
What that's called?
what?
Well, I guess it depends on what you're using that noise for, but that's called Foley sound.
Foley sound.
Yeah. Foley sound is the recording of like someone walking on gravel. They do that
Okay.
off site and they add it in after. So falling rain is actually the sound of someone frying eggs and putting the microphone up to it. That's usually what that is.
Wow. Because yeah, that
Foley
does make sense.
facts.
Okay, so but it's called Foley, but that's also your last name. I
It
feel
is
like
my last name. Yeah. Yep.
and that's just like the name of it.
Yep. And so when I first started DJing, I was originally just going to go by Foley.
Foley, yeah.
And realized that anything to do with sound or, sonic in the word Foley, I would be lost in oblivion in terms of
Foley sound.
Foley sound.
Gotcha. Wow.
So let's start with that. We were telling Allison earlier, when I refer to Allison as Allison, Nick's like, who? And I'm like, Danger Foley. And then he's like, oh, so
Danger.
how that, I mean, it's the coolest name ever. And that's how everyone knows you now. So how did that become a thing?
Danger.
Yeah. So it's a story that I have been meaning to tell, and I am so excited that I get to tell it here. When I was in high school, I was 16, and I was going on one of the first dates I'd ever been on with a guy that I had met who went to a different high school. He was a senior when I was a sophomore, and came over to my house before our date. My dad gave him the speech, if she comes back any different than how she's leaving, I'll kill you.
Yeah.
And so we went to a concert, and we were front row, and it was for a band called Pepper. I'm not sure if you've heard of them.
I like Pepper.
Pepper's awesome.
Yeah.
I know Pepper?
Surf,
It's reggae.
surf reggae.
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
It's cool, like slightly stupid, that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We're front row, and someone tries to throw a pint glass from the back of the theater onto the stage, and it misses, and it hits me in the head.
Like a glass.
A glass,
Glass
pint
glass.
glass, yeah. And so it hits me in the head, and I immediately get conked out and blood down my face, looking like Carrie. They stop the show, carry me up on the stage, across the stage, out the side door, rushed in an ambulance to the hospital.
At a reggae
17.
show?
Yep.
Okay.
Read
And
the room, guys.
so 7 staples. And the next day got a call from the venue basically saying, come to any show you want. You are our guest. We would love to have you.
Wow.
And this is back in the day when, people just didn't want to pursue litigation. There
Right,
wasn't anything like that. And so I just started going to concerts all the time.
Fuck yeah.
And every time I would enter the building, they would say, Danger Foley's in the building. And so it kind of became this inside joke of, just what people started calling me in the industry.
Yeah.
And then I got into artist hospitality, and I worked in different little niches of the music industry, and the name kind of stuck. Went to college, and it kind of followed me there. I went to CU Boulder, and one of my roommates at one point thought, because people were signing my name, Alison Danger Foley,
Yeah.
and she was like, is your name Donger? Like, is it German?
Donger? No.
Yeah.
Oh my
No.
God. So it just kind of stuck. And I was in a car accident in 2016 that really messed me up. It messed my neck up really, really badly. And there's a lot more that goes into it. But I was in a really dark place in my life during COVID, and got laid off. I was in pharmaceutical sales. And I had lost a friend to suicide that year.
Damn.
And was living in LA and having a great time and, finding happiness and things. But I came back to Denver to pursue neck treatment and all this stuff, and found DJing. And this was April of 2021. Like 2 weeks after that, I met my now fiance.
Yeah.
But I started DJing and found that like my neck really hurt when I would play, because I had my deck solo at my friend's house. This was his deck was solo. I didn't have a DJ deck at the time. And my neck would be solo. So we were joking that I should wear a neck brace when I play. And so that we were joking that my name would be Danger Foley, and I would have like really cool neck braces that would like shoot lasers.
Yeah.
Like I would get one with a cape and like, just kind of like work that persona. Like, look at her. She's got a floppy neck, but she plays bangers. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But it started off kind of as a joke. And then my now fiance, his name's Reed, he saw me play at a show that my buddy had just let me tag along in. And the next day we were at the gym together and he's like, I did something really nuts because we just met, but I got you a DJ deck and I want to keep it in my house so you can practice and I'll cook dinner for you and you can just practice and play. And so that's kind of how I started really like taking it seriously.
Wow.
If he wanted to, he would.
Yeah,
if he wanted to, he would.
Wait,
He
that's
would.
so metal. Everything about that entire story.
Yeah.
Also, so bold of him. I'm like, do I have that confidence?
It's
I
just
don't
be
know.
so self-assured
Yeah.
that
Literally.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Wow.
worked.
That's amazing.
I did not know you started DJing in 2021.
Yeah.
2021.
This has also been like a theme. A lot of our friends who are full time on the coolest things and so connected, then we have them on the podcast and it's like, wait, like that's recent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty new.
But
Relatively
like
speaking.
you're full time teaching DJing, traveling DJing.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a whirlwind in a very good way. But the really interesting thing about something like this, about the creative pursuit, which
Yeah.
you guys understand, is a lot of, I don't share anything on social media really. Like it might feel like I do. And obviously we all know the highlight reel is a very real thing.
Right.
But it feels really crazy to have the rocket ship go up so quickly to like the next up level, but then it gets quiet again.
Yeah.
And those days where you're just in the studio, in my case, you know, truly treating this as like an education, like
Yeah.
and that's a whole other story that I'll tell you because that one's crazy. But there are these moments of silence that get in your head and make you think that you're like, okay, well that was last weekend. Like, well, what now? And what is the definition of like success and what is the definition of being everywhere? Because I look at my Instagram and I'm like, wow, everybody else is everywhere, you know? And so it's like, thank you very much. And yes, I am staying very busy, but
Yeah.
a lot of the time I feel like I'm actually like a hermit. Like the last few months I've been really like digging in and learning a ton. And I have a brand new rig.
Yeah.
Cool.
I have like the coolest setup. And so I've just been hunkering down. But yeah.
So you got to like perfect your craft, but it's so funny you say that because I think with any creative pursuit and just like being an artist or even like this is like our art. Yeah, it's just talking. But like we honestly, because we've been doing it for about 2 years and Nick and I were like not stale or stagnant, but we didn't know where it was like going. And it wasn't, I don't know. We kind of had a moment we were like, are we going to do this? Like, what are we doing here? And yeah, and we kind of had, I don't know, just we had like a talk, like our little business meetings at coffee shops, like what we do like a couple times a week.
Yeah.
And that's when we decided to start having our friends on. I was like, let's start having people on. And to be honest, it's been like 2 weeks of a few podcasts a week, and it is beyond reignited my excitement for it. I was like,
and it's nuts. It is nuts.
just because our friends are so inspiring and people are so I think it's very important to talk to other artists and stuff. And that's what
1,000,000%.
this is
1,000,000%.
like have given us is it's like,
Yeah.
oh, we all go through that, the lulls. And then, but when you're with someone that's so excited and they're doing good things for good reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like every day we're getting to sit down and like, I'm like, damn, like every time we have a podcast like this, I'm like, this is why we do this.
It's inspiring.
To like get to what's cool about podcasting is we get to like the nitty gritty of like what you're doing and why you're doing it. And like the highlight reel of Instagram doesn't show that.
Exactly. And like you were saying about like kind of like being like a hermit, like, you know, learning your craft and doing it. When I have a day just to like edit and learn, it's kind of my favorite, even though it's not very sexy, because like I'll sit there go on YouTube and I'm gonna have some Indian man do like a tutorial of like some weird Adobe setting that I've never heard of before, but I'm learning so much. And like it's just like crazy where I was 2 years ago versus now. I'm just like, holy motherfucker, I am an audio engineer, I guess. You know, and I say that and like literally like I hear it in like the sound quality of what I do, and then I can critique other people, and I'm like, it is just such a craft, and I think it's so important. Like every time you do something, just get like a little bit better at it, a little bit better at it.
And isn't it nuts to look back at the work that you did when you first started? and you're like, oh my God, I was out in the world confident
Yeah.
and cocky. Like
Yeah.
back at the beginning, I was like playing shows and up there, you know, like there's like this moment when you first hit that first little milestone where you're like, oh, I totally got this. And then as you continue to grow, you're like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like,
But I think with the creative process and people who are going for it, it's really, and we always say this all the time, you got to make bad shit to make good shit.
totally.
So you got to get into it. And there's no other way to learn that. And I think a lot of times, like influencers and social media, we see everyone doing the cool stuff and people are embarrassed to start and mess up. And it's like, no, anyone that you see being amazing, they've had 5-10 years behind the scenes and they decided to make the bad shit. It's not every time you're getting better. And one of my low points, I actually was talking to my dad. I was like, I don't know, like, what are we doing? He goes, Francesca, every time get a little bit better. And he was like, right now where you guys are at, the only way you fail is if you stop. And I was like,
preach,
damn.
Dad.
Preach, Dad.
That's a good dad.
He's
Our
like,
dad's sick as fuck. Like
I want to meet this man.
He's very supportive.
You got to meet my dad too.
What?
I said we should have our dads
Our
on.
dad's on. We've had our dad on.
Oh, cool.
We've had our parents on.
We can pause for a second. How are you? It's not live.
Yeah, it's not
How are
live.
you?
Hi, Gabe.
How are you?
Hi. Gabe's going to be on.
Come in, hop in.
So I was like, what are we doing?
Good
Jealous.
morning, everybody. Hey.
Good morning? Is it morning?
It's morning. Yeah.
It's morning for us.
That's true.
At the Zodiac Hause live.
Nice 3 p.m.
3
wake
p.m.
up call. I like that a
I had
lot.
to get my beauty sleep.
You got to. You've been going nonstop.
Yeah. So have you.
You were just saying this. Sure have.
So
You guys,
good.
this is Gabe, one of the owners of Zodiac Hause, who is the one that was like, have the podcast here and just go for it and it'll be fine. I was like, hell yeah. Perfect.
It's our guy.
Good little setting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, like a vibe. We're into it. We're like,
socks off.
So yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah. It's,
Shoes off.
Nice little note.
Shoes off, socks on.
You still have your socks on.
I know. I wouldn't be that crazy.
I know, right? We got to work our way
can't
into
have
it.
the dogs out on the
I'm not
podcast.
that type of guy.
Buenos
Dias.
dias.
Senor.
Everybody, Alison is fucking amazing. Tune into her. Go see her play.
Tune into me, guys.
We haven't even
Tune
gotten
in.
there yet.
I love
We've
you.
just been getting cozy and it's
I
like,
know, I
oh, they
know.
don't even know
They
who
don't
we've
even.
got on the pod yet.
I
Oh,
know. I had like such a good topic to talk about, but I forgot.
fuck. I do that every time.
I know.
Honestly. Do you feel like your attention span is shorter these days, like since COVID?
Well, I have what they call TikTok brain rot. So like, Danger,
So,
I will sit in my bed. I don't watch TV. I watch TikTok and YouTube.
I think we're getting smarter from that personally.
But I am learning. I'm learning knowledge. Like I'm not. Also, people always like. One thing I am a little jealous of with TikTok is like a lot of people like. There's like a lot of funny memes and things like that I don't really get. Mine's all like astrology, history,
Gardening.
gardening.
Oh, I love that.
Fuck yeah.
I've been buying Reed gardening tools
Yeah.
because my neck's floppy. You know, like
Right.
I can do it for like I can pull weeds for like an hour max.
Mhm.
But he loves it, and so I've been buying him all the TikTok stuff, like the weed
Yeah.
puller.
Oh my god,
and-
Grandpa's
Grandpa's weeder.
I know what you're talking about.
And I got him the knee thing used for camera guys.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he's benefiting as well.
Okay.
I love that you're a TikToker. It's so,
Okay, good. I know.
as like a millennial, a lot of our friends don't. It's like a lot of Gen Z. I feel like when
Yes.
I have like a couple good friends and it's like, it's a different culture and you're like, oh, you TikTok, so you understand. We can talk
Yeah.
about this because it is like,
It's so different. And
It
the
is.
difference in what I have noticed and what I appreciate, the difference between Instagram and TikTok is Instagram is literally like the look at me peacock show.
Yeah, totally.
Where on TikTok it's actually kind of just not what you're looking for. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like the girls that are just showing their ass on TikTok, I mean, they do very well.
Yeah.
And go them, that's great, and there is a market for that, but like I love the citizen journalism aspect of it, and I love the
Absolutely.
research aspect of it and how people show their bibliography and their notes and like how they get to conclusions, and the amount of things that I have since dug into,
Yeah.
like the Korean War and all all of these different things where you're like, oh god damn it, of course
Totally.
they want to ban this app.
you know what's so funny is I think also in the news, people will be like, this is like a talking point. People say, they'll be like, well, like the TikTok algorithm in China just shows people STEM stuff. And in America, it's just dancing videos. And we don't, and I'm like, you haven't been on TikTok.
You've never been on the app,
I'm like,
but sure.
literally, exactly what you're saying. The other day I dove into that. I think it's the Nestle Corporation owns most of the baby formula.
Yep.
In
And
the baby formula industry. Yeah, you're on this. Because it's just one girl who started talking about it. And again, it doesn't have to be planned. She's not a journalist. She's not a newscaster.
Yeah.
What I've learned, she started showing that Nestle is the biggest lobbyer against paid maternity leave. Because if women have maternity leave and they're breastfeeding their babies, they're not buying as much formula. And it's like, that is some evil shit. They want women to go back 3 weeks, 6 weeks after they have a baby so that their baby's on formula, because pumping in the workplace is hard. It's awkward.
Embarrassing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shameful.
Embarrassing, shameful. It doesn't, it's not convenient. Okay. To tie it a little bit back, you were talking about gardening. Okay. A lot of people don't know this about me. I know I always talk about it. I am a plant. Like, I am very into plants. I worked in organic agriculture and
I thought
He's
this
a
was like
farmer
a
by
big.
trade. I know. I was like, where
I
are we
thought
going
you
with
were
this?
doing an
What I-
identification. You're like,
I
I
am a plant.
am
Like,
a plant.
I always like I think that like plants guide us, and like what I've learned from plants and like with gardening is like we don't grow food or we don't grow plants, we grow consciousness. And back to like the maternity leave, I feel like there's so much in our world that doesn't want you to breast pump and like do like the very basic nature thing of like feeding your baby from like your titty, you know what I mean? And like our
Beautifully
world is like so anti-plant, so anti-nature, where it's like
Anti-connection.
where it's like, dude, do what the plants do what the animals do. And I'm not saying like, oh, let's just like be like, gorillas and apes and stuff like that. But I feel like there's such a lesson from like, what is nature trying to do? Nature is abundance. Nature is like, I can feed you from there. Whereas like our modern world is like, okay, actually, no,
You need
paid
us.
maternity. Yeah, right. And sorry, I'm ranting a little bit, but I
No,
just think
we're
it's
on
like
the
so
same
important
page.
to like really look at the natural function of things. And like, I'm a big vegetarian, and I understand that eating meat is like a big thing. However, in today's world, with like factory farms, I'm not going to eat meat, and that's why it's like, yeah. Anyway,
No,
I'm tracking what you're saying, and it is. Anytime humans have gone so against nature with pharmaceuticals and stuff, anytime we go so hard one way or, just the way we eat, like, oh, fortified cereal, do this. Oh, you'll get your vitamins. It's like, it's just in the plants already. We don't need to manufacture this and go so many steps away. And I think one thing that's cool, we're so modern. We have phones in our hands.
Love it.
Everything. But with TikTok and I feel like we're all kind of realizing, getting back to like the real shit, we're just complicated plants. We want sunshine. We want community. And that's, I feel like, what's like trying to bring it all back. Like what's like healing and good for us.
Totally.
And in a weird way, with all the technology, I feel like our consciousness and like the people, it's like, can we get back to like the real shit? I don't know.
So I 100,000%.
Tracking.
Yes.
I know. We're
So I am in the process of compiling research. I would love to speak on it in a like a TED Talk almost environment. I'm compiling this research all about psychology and basically everything that we're talking about. And I'm going to give you a little overview because it talks about wolves and it's dope.
Yes.
So
I am in love with you.
No, this is for real.
put it in,
like,
put
who
it
are
in,
you?
gang.
You're leading the podcast. No, this.
Yeah.
Okay, so back in ancient tribal times, before Pangea,
Yeah.
back when humans were just becoming humans, and we were recognizing the value of community and the value of inclusion to a certain extent, where you could be a part of a tribe.
Right.
We had all of these elements that bound us together. We would dance tribally. We would all learn the same dances. We would gather the same berries and meat and eat together from a communal pot. All of that was a neurological syncing. Our neurons literally would fire together because we were all ingesting the same information, the same everything. wolves operate in a pack mentality, right?
Mhm.
And what they will do when it comes to hunting is they will all gather around their prey. And this is a creepy, weird, fun fact, but they will scare the shit out of it for as long as they can to get the adrenaline to pump through their prey and to get as much blood to the extremities as possible. And each wolf, based on their ranking, will have a hierarchical pecking order of when they get to eat and what they get to eat. And the alpha, who is usually a female, by the way.
What?
Yeah, isn't that cool? The alpha will eat like the liver, the kidneys, all of the, really high nutrient dense foods. Then it goes down from there and, the muscles and the brains of the pack get the hearty parts, and then the lower your ranking, you get the scraps. With deforestation, these wolf packs are splitting up because they can't hunt together anymore because there's not enough food to go around. So instead of all sharing a deer, they're splitting off, and each of them is eating a whole rabbit or a whole, baby, smaller animals, but they're eating the whole thing. And therefore their chemistry is not in a pack mentality anymore. So you have these wolves that are exhibiting these behaviors that are totally unprecedented. What is interesting when you think about humans and wolves is when you think about us from a tribal perspective, when we were all eating the same thing, there's a lot of cohesion because we knew each other. It was controllable. As you get bigger and you have people trying to implement their own agendas into our mentality, trying to turn us all against each other. Like we are the opposite of anything to do with a tribe. This is individual, just me, only me. I look out for myself. I'm obsessed with myself. I'm constantly looking at myself here in the mirror. I wonder what everybody else is thinking about me. There is like no pack mentality.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
One of the last opportunities that we have from a tribal perspective is dance and the music that we listen to. And there is a literal, like, neurological response when a group of people are in an environment together listening to the same music, especially at specific frequencies. I know you're both onto that stuff too. But when we have the opportunity to dance together in a rhythm, it literally can sync us.
Totally.
And so as a musician, and I'm just now starting to get comfortable with saying that word and identifying as that because of the crazy amount of imposter syndrome that I deal with. But as a musician, it is such a responsibility to be in an environment where you have the power to control the vibration of a room.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of people who go to a show to kind of release a darkness almost.
Yeah.
And they like the really heavy, hard, angry, like shake it out of you. And I think that there is a time and place for that. However, I do think that there is a lot of malicious music, a lot of malicious frequencies, a lot of malicious visuals. And I think it is really important that as a musician, like, you recognize your intention in terms of what you want to give your audience, but as an audience member to like realize what you're ingesting. And so my intention, especially as I get more comfortable and more experimental and, better, is to like be really intentional and like make it exciting and make people like gut punch of feeling like human and connected as my number one goal.
Completely. And I feel like it's also like pretty like a lot of, I guess, insidious music can kind of be like a wolf in sheep's clothing, because like I feel like a lot of pop music, I'm a big pop music guy. Some can be so fucking dark and bad for you to ingest, and I recognize it. And then you look at like metal music, and like that's like really healing in a lot of ways.
Have you heard the backstory of Tool?
No, but let's talk about fucking Tool.
Wait, before we get into that, what you're saying, it was one of the first music festivals I ever went to. I was at Tomorrow World, and I like decided to go to like one of the talks. They have like someone was doing a talk. I happened upon it in the morning, and it was a man named Sunflower. And he was like, and I'm like a big bass head.
Are you?
Yes. Surprising
awesome.
thing about me.
Yeah, fun fact.
Because Nick is not, but it's like, find me at the bass stage at Burning Man. And like, I was sober last Burning Man, and I'm like, but I think it's probably releasing some darkness there. Like, I think that's me kind of like transmuting some trauma I've been through and stuff.
Interesting. Yeah, I could see that.
But when this talk that this man Sunflower did, he played different hurts. And he was like, I know a lot of you guys are here to see. That's when Ace Nectar was doing the big thing. And that's who a lot of us were there to see. And he was like, I just want you to notice how your body feels and how you feel. He goes, I'm just going to play these things. He goes, I'm not saying anything about any of the things here, but you need to realize, like, when you're going to these, what is it actually doing to your body? And he played like some of the not as good ones, like kind of the lower. He was like, how do we all feel? Like, let's talk about it. Do we feel angry? Do we feel upset? And I did. I was like, oh. And then he played some other ones and he was like, how do we feel? And it was like, oh, that's good. And he was like, just know that you think you're out there and it's just good music and this. He was like, but this is affecting your body and your chemistry. And I think about that all the time. I was like, man, Sunflower at Tomorrow World. But I was like, to have it demonstrated like that, because I think in normal settings we all don't realize that, to feel it and what it definitely does something to your body.
There is a literal tangible code to like frequency that I think we pick up on, because like vibrations in our genome are a lot older than like our conscious brains are. And I can't really speak on that. Like, I don't really know anything about that, but I just know that that's
we know enough to know that we know nothing, and we know the spec exists and therefore the universe exists. So, right. And it's crazy how the more people that I talk to, the more I realize that a lot of people actually are recognizing that we have more power than we realize.
Right.
And the fact that we're trying to be so subjugated and like just separated from that, like it's a very intentional thing that's going on. And I was having a conversation with a friend yesterday who landed a big account, basically doing the visuals for a company that is in the news for just kind of screwing the pooch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they are cast in a bad light, and she has this opportunity to work with them on a very big visual showcase.
Yeah.
And I asked her if she felt any moral conflict with it. And she responded, I'm an artist, and if not me, then who? And I know my intention.
Right.
And I know the power that I have if I can get people's eyes on my art. And she's a very intentional, very amazing artist. And she's like, if someone asked a famous artist if they wanted their art hung in Hitler's home, like, what if that piece of art somehow could change something? You know what I mean? Like, I do think that art has a power to change people. But it was a really interesting thing to recognize that, like, I don't know, art has more power as like almost not a weapon, but, like you can use it as an act of intention.
No, 1,000,000%, because I think that art and intention is really the only thing we can do, and I love technology. I love science. I love all these things. However, I do think that like the most human thing you can do is be artistic and creative. That's literally the whole point of,
I think if we lose art, we have nothing.
Exactly. And that like life literally imitates art, So,
absolutely.
I mean, I think that like and I look at like songs that have impacted me and art that's impacted me, and it's like the most important thing that I've ever felt is like art. And then that is power, that is passion, that is energy. Like 1,000,000%.
We'll get back to Tool, but through like this community and these friends, it sounds so silly. Like right now we're doing a Burning Man fundraiser. And it's like, what is that? Like, why am I like, I think people who don't understand, they're like, why are we like helping you raise money to like go get drunk in the desert? And it's like, when I went, that's very much not it. It's so art driven. People are like, oh, go to Burning Man for their art. I feel like it's like a thing people like make fun of. And the art and the signs, like that is what impacted me the most there. And like, I don't know, just this community of people is really, I feel like I was more like in the marketing, like business group of people. And now that I've seen people just creating to create or donating their art for people to just see. And I'm like, man, people are like working so hard just for this to be here for them to encounter it on the playa or to encounter it in a place. And I don't know. I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say, but this community has like taught me more about doing it to do it.
Like art for art's sake.
Yeah.
And that's consciousness. That's connection. That's intention. Yeah.
And I get why people are spending so much money and donating to people to create it, because that is the point. That is the meaning. And I don't know. It's taking me like a while to get there, because it's very weird to see like people like, oh, I'm just spending all this money for people to like see it and whatever. And I don't know. I'm not saying it the right way.
You're fine. You're fine. Let's get back to Tool, because like what is but also
I could keep we'll talk about that too another time.
I totally hear what you're saying. And with Burning Man, you know who I ran into at Burning Man?
Tool?
Alex Gray. The guy, he does all of Burning Man's or all of Tool's cover art. That guy, the painter.
The psychedelic.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I didn't say hi.
Good little cross.
I know. I didn't say hi. I was a bit starstruck.
Yeah.
And he was with his wife. And like, he's like a very
people.
simple man, but he's not simple. I mean, he's one of my favorite artists of all time. And Tool's one of my favorite bands of all time. And I don't know the story of Tool, but like, I was like, Francesca, that's fucking Alex Gray right there. That's him.
Do you regret not saying hi?
No, it was almost like I enjoyed watching him just live.
Exist.
That's him. That's literally him right there, with his wife. We were swimming, and
it was like the decompression in Reno.
In Reno. So I didn't see him
We're
at
like,
Burning Man, but
let's let him do his.
he was in the
he's
pool.
chilling.
He just kind of like, he literally like
natural
stroked to me. And I was like, Francesca. But anyway.
He walks among us.
I know, literally.
For real.
He's just a man.
Yep, that's how Dave Grohl is for me.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
He's the coolest human on the planet.
Dave Grohl is the coolest human on the planet.
He is.
I always think of a clip I saw of him, and I love this about him because I feel like he's so unpretentious. And he was like, what's the crazy thing about having children? Is like, they don't care who you are.
Yeah.
They don't care that you're famous. They're like, Daddy, I want a smoothie now.
Yeah,
like,
you work for me, asshole.
Yeah. And he's like, it is the most humbling thing. And he was like, because my kids don't give a shit. Who I am.
That he's like, I'm the fucking drummer for fucking Nirvana. And they're like, who?
Yeah. Daddy, I want a smoothie.
Yeah. It's crazy. Because he's
nothing.
just a man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
Wow.
I have
It's crazy.
I have a silly story.
Yeah.
So I have had the privilege of becoming friendly with the band over the course of
Foo Fighters?
the Foo Fighters.
I
Over
did
the
know
course of 2016.
Up.
And I originally met them at a show, and there was a party, I guess, like after, but they were like, yeah, like find cool people in Denver to go to this. And I was down in the pit, and the security guard points to me and my friend. He's like, you two, come here. And I was crying because it was the Foo Fighters. And I literally like was just in the pit watching them play. I think it was Hero, actually. And I'm like literally just feeling the music. And he's like, you two. And I was like, oh my God, are we in the wrong section? What's going on? And he calls us over and he's like, do you want to watch from over here? And he literally points to the side of the stage. And we watched from the side of the stage, which was amazing. And they're like, yep, like we would love to have you guys to this like little after party. And it was just everybody was so cool, not creepy at all, just like the coolest people. And so we ended up keeping in touch with everybody that we met that night. And I've just like gotten friendly with them, and I've had the chance to hang out with Dave a few times. Was with them like the night that they announced that the world was going to shut down for COVID. And like they were trying to figure out Coachella and like all of this stuff. It was just so nuts.
Wait, this is crazy.
Crazy. But one of the funniest things that happened, which was such a moment of people are just people, you know what I mean? I was at a post Grammy party, and a friend of mine who's like with the band was walking around introducing me to people. And he brings me up to Dave, and we like hug, and I hadn't seen him since COVID started. So caught up for a minute, and then he turns around and he's like, oh, and Alison, I would like you to meet Paul. And it's Paul McCartney. And I'm sitting there like, oh, like, great to meet you. Like, what is going on? And it's him and his wife is just lovely, and it's super loud. We're like, there's a DJ there, and it's like, you can't really hear, but we're like leaning in, and I'm like, oh, were you guys at the Grammys? Paul's like, yeah.
Did you know it was him? Like, did you recognize him?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I didn't
yeah.
know if it.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, did you have a good time? And he's like, yeah. And his wife looks at him and looks at me, and she goes, I don't know what he's talking about. We didn't go to the Grammys. And I like look at him. I'm like, did you just lie? And he was like, I can't really hear, and I just wanted to impress you.
He wanted to impress you.
I was like, what is going?
Paul
What?
fucking McCartney. Wait, that's so funny.
And then within like the next hour, we're all on the dance floor, and I'm dancing. I don't dance cute. That's another issue that I'm working through with this DJ thing. I like do a lot of finger guns and like,
Hey.
Like Elaine, are you a Seinfeld fan?
yeah.
Do you know this?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
He's a
I'm
horrible
a little
dancer.
older than you. Elaine like does this thing. They're like, we can't take her place because she like when she dances, she's just and
flailing around. Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
But at this party, I'm literally dancing with like my butt obnoxiously like out, and I feel two butts, and I turn around and it's literally Paul McCartney and Dave Grohl, and the three of us are just like rubbing our butts like a bunch of idiots in the middle of the circle. And I ran to the corner, was like, oh no, but I wish I just kept going.
Yeah, I know. You just like be in the moment because there's just people. However, I would disassociate.
Yeah.
I would literally go into a dark place of like, I like Dave Grohl, whatever. Paul McCartney, he's literally the reason why I'm a vegetarian. You know?
McCartney's the reason you're a vegetarian.
He's one of the biggest, loudest vegetarian voices in the world. And I just like, he's my favorite Beatle. I just like, I do feel like he's almost, again, he's just a person. He's God status, though. He is literally like a living legend, and I can't believe he's still alive. Like, I don't need to rant about Paul McCartney. We all know.
Everyone knows.
We all know.
And everyone agrees.
Actually, I was in Rishikesh, India, and I went to the Beatles ashram. It's where they recorded Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart. And I was like, Paul McCartney walked the streets of this ashram.
For real, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially with Sgt. Pepper.
Sgt. Pepper.
Yeah.
And you're just booty bumping with him?
Yeah. I mean, I doubt he remembers.
I would run
sure,
into traffic.
I'm sure he's bumped cool. I'm sure he's bumped cooler booties.
I
But you know,
yeah.
I bumped booties with him.
That's really incredible.
Yeah.
That is really incredible. But I feel like your creative journey has really gotten you to this
Will
realm.
you explain to me how you're in all the rooms you're in? So you guys,
Yeah.
I am like Allison. We met a while ago, and I would call us friends. We don't talk. We haven't hung out that much, and I'm so happy that you're here. And I like
so happy.
wanted to know more, but I'm like a fan. I'm like a follower. I watch all of your stories, and I'm like, I just think you are so cool.
Saucy.
No, like in Saucy, that's what we
Yeah,
have. Like, no, I'm
literally.
serious. Like, I don't fangirl over a lot of people, and I'm like, this is one of the coolest girls I've ever met. Also, we had our big photo shoot with Jason Segel, which is
Yeah.
actually. So Allison was a new friend, and I just knew Allison as having the best fits. I don't know if you're seeing this jumpsuit right now that she's wearing, you guys.
Oh, Top Gun.
Yes, fully.
Yeah.
And we didn't know each other that well, and I don't know why I like had the confidence to ask you this. I just was like, hey, I have this huge photo shoot coming up. May I come over and borrow some clothes? And you were like, absolutely.
Just
You know
gave
what's
you
also funny is you thought
Kyle.
Jason Segel is who I was doing a shoot with.
Oh yeah.
The actor.
Oh, the actor. Yeah.
I was like, anything you need. Like, what are you doing with Jason
so
Segel?
random.
And I was like, no. Also,
Awesome.
an awesome guy, but not the.
Honestly,
what's
the
like,
photographer is just as cool. In
no,
my
I know
opinion.
He might
like
be
the
cooler.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Actors don't.
He's super
I
talented.
don't get crazy about actors, you know?
Yeah.
But no, you
But-
let me
Art.
come over.
Well,
yeah.
I ended up not wearing any of it, unfortunately, because Jason actually like picked our outfits and everything, and he was like, "This is what you're wearing. This is what's up." He like did the styling.
Gotta trust the boss.
And I was like, "Damn!"
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
didn't know
trust
I
the
was
boss.
also hiring a stylist, but that was like amazing of him.
Yeah.
He was like, "Nope, like show me your things. We'll pick it out." Yeah, no, you let me come over. You're like, "Yeah, girl, like I got you," and I was like, that
Yeah.
was, I think, almost like wild of me to ask. But then at the time, I was like, fuck, like this is like we were like investing a lot of money
Yeah.
in these. And I was like, I don't have the fits. And I was like, who's the coolest girl I know with like the coolest fits?
You literally gave us your the code into your house, and you weren't even home.
When we dropped them back off. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, like
Don't tell anyone.
no,
No,
I meant
It's
like,
a special
But
treat.
that's what's so funny with like this community of
It's
people.
just
It's like
trusting, yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
in, it's like it's family. Even we might be like peripheral family, but
Yeah.
it's like the people are trusted. And that's
Yeah.
one thing like Quincy's taught me. It's like you can invite people, you can have people around, just know it's on you.
Mm-hmm.
totally.
It's a reflection of you.
Right.
And we
Vouch
don't
for
have
each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yep. And I've been a lot more. First of all, thank you
Yeah.
so much. It's very,
I
very
need
kind.
to know how to tell your story, but I need to know like how you became this cool and how you're just doing these things. So I'm like, you're one of the people I like want to emulate. I'm like, if I could like be there, I don't know.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
yeah.
Trying to get better at taking compliments. I'm very sweaty in this jumpsuit, but thank you.
Yeah.
Well, to start with, like how I've gotten into the crazy situations I've gotten myself into. I have learned from a very young age. I remember my dad teaching me. It was like one of the first things he taught me was, if you treat everybody like a hero, they'll show up and be one. And so
Wow.
I just grew up looking people in the eye, asking their name early in a conversation, addressing them by their name, and essentially just becoming quick friends
Yeah.
with in most rooms, just
Yeah.
because there is something really rare, unfortunately, about actually like having a good conversation with somebody. And I typically carry around this little deck of question cards. It's called a chat pack. And I talk to waiters, I talk to busboys, I talk to flight attendants, I talk to, hotel lobby employees, like anybody who people probably don't talk to a lot, I talk to. And the cool thing that happens when everybody is your friend is everybody wants their friends to do cool things. And
Yeah.
everybody wants their friends to succeed. And so, yeah, of course I gave you the outfits for the photo shoot. You know what I mean? Like it
Totally,
literally is.
totally,
It's
totally.
like, if I win, we all win. And if you win, that's a win for me. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's more about just like a philosophy of how I view the world and try to live my life. I mean, I'm human, but I think people just recognize that. And it's kind of like a pinball machine where it's like, you've got to meet my friend so-and-so. And then that person happens to know this person and they're going to a Grammy part. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
You show up honest and genuine and excited to meet people, and then you get that same reflection back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, there were many years of being naive and getting myself in situations where,
Yeah.
like, thank God, you get out of the crazy stuff sometimes. And I've obviously learned how to, I wouldn't even say perfect the craft of engaging with people authentically, but because, people can be sneaky and people can have bad intentions. And, but yeah, I mean, I've found that especially as I've like gotten to know myself better and like really figure out that alignment of how I can show up in the world from a place of like wanting everybody to be healthy and happy and have their autonomy. Like that's through my music in the last few years as I've just been like, fuck everything else. Like I'm pursuing this, burn all the lifeboats.
Yeah.
That's when the really, really, really cool shit has started happening. And that's when people just like are literally like, oh, you got to get up there. Okay, I'll give you a boost or like hop on my back and then I'll turn around and take them with me. Like the way that I see this is like, this is a traveling circus. Like let's all go together.
Yeah.
Truly.
So yeah, that's kind of how I roll, and I'm stoked to be on the ride with you guys now.
Yeah, no, how you roll is like a really good way to put it because you kind of give me like rock star vibes. You know what I mean? Like you are just sort of rocking and rolling. And I think it's so like we see that,
Cool.
we see that, and for
Well,
sure. And it's fun to watch.
I back at you.
Yeah.
I think
Thank you.
there's something really cool and easy about the dynamic with you guys and whoever you're talking to. You know, there's such an art in giving people a safe place to share their real shit. You know, like a lot of these podcasts are just so fabricated these days, and there's things you can and can't talk about. You know, crazy enough, I think I actually might be shadow banned on Instagram. And it's really great to hear that you're seeing my stories and like seeing my content and stuff. Because I posted,
I was going to say, what triggered it?
I think, a political post about my recent trip to Austin. I won't get into it because I don't want anything to go down with you guys. But yeah, if you look at my, well, actually,
no, get into it.
We literally don't care.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're very open
we don't
about
not
this.
care. It's just like
I also, it's so funny people say shadow banned and it's like, oh no, your content's just not good. I know it's such a real thing. I had like 40,000 followers. I was a gluten-free food blogger years ago. I didn't really share anything about COVID. I was very anti-mask, like anti-shutting down our businesses. I very much recognize it was a real thing. Our brother was an ER doctor in New York City at the time. But I was like, what we're doing to small businesses, I was so outspoken about. And I had posted like a lot of, we can't be at 50% capacity and walk in, take your mask off, sit down. I was like, we're all still here in the building. We can't be like not letting the businesses make money. Like making America poorer and killing our middle class is not going to save anyone.
Literally, making people poor was never going to save anyone.
Yeah, sorry, not to go on that, but I had been very open about that. I went from thousands of comments. Like these girls were my friends. I had grown this community for 7 years. And like every time I would post about like being gluten-free, and I posted a lot about depression, it went to the account I can't use anymore. I would post a picture, I'd get 3 likes. And it was like my mom, my brother, and my grandma. Those are the only people seeing any content. And so I just had to say goodbye to that. And that was like hard for me to get over.
I know, and it's so hard.
That's we could, I mean,
yeah. So we're very open about it, and it sucks that we have to play by the algorithm and play by this, but that's why we do a podcast.
Totally,
because we own this.
I know.
We're not on an algorithm. We can have our people, and they can find us. You can't just get it shut off the next day.
Totally.
And I think if we lose open dialogue, that's also when we've lost.
Exactly. And to stop talking about it is
totally
giving in and No, I hear you on that.
So please take it away.
I have been, it's such an interesting thing to even feel weird about talking about. It's just so bizarre. I have been doing a lot of research, and I, over the last year or so, have dove into everything that we've talked about and became very curious about RFK Jr. And I had the chance to meet him in Denver.
You're so
goofy. Nick,
you are so goofy, dude.
No. They were hanging out. They were at a retreat together.
You know, I did know that. I just remember that right now. But go on.
Yeah. Go on. You said it goofy?
No, goofy, as in like it's hilarious.
It's
like,
crazy.
It's wacky.
It's wacky.
It's, yeah. And I mean that in a good way.
For sure. Yeah. You can call me goofy. I don't care. Yeah. But I met him in Denver at the ETH convention.
Yeah.
And it was brief.
Conference in Denver.
But I got to meet some of his team, and we all kept in touch. And when I was playing down at South by Southwest a few months ago for Icon, I did their showcase. There was an RFK event that weekend, and so we decided to go to that, and that was at Aubrey Marcus's ranch. And it was an epic day. It was so cool. It had a lot of panels about exactly everything that we're talking about: healing the earth, healing the soil, having our priority be on everything that we're talking about. And I posted about it. And since then, my account has been like no one really sees my stuff anymore.
Right.
And I'm getting a bunch of really weird, I think they're like bots, like bot interactions. And I don't know what to do because I worked really hard to get it to where it is. against everything really in my body because social media just feels so inauthentic. Well, at least Instagram feels so inauthentic to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, why do I even care? But you have to care.
It matters.
It does matter.
It matters, yeah.
And so I'm wondering, because everybody that I've talked to that's experienced this has literally said, you just got to say goodbye, and better today than tomorrow. Like the longer you wait, you know, just to restart.
Yeah.
You know, so it's
Which
really
is
unfortunate.
so crazy that they say it's not a thing.
Yeah.
We know it is.
Of course
it's
it's
very
a thing.
obvious.
Yeah.
Of course it's a thing.
What upsets me is that, like, those are people, when you follow someone, it's like you signed up, like I subscribed.
Yeah.
I want to see their stuff. But this corporation with their own political agendas can just say, oh, even though those people signed up and said, yes, I want to watch her things and follow her, we're just not going to show her anymore. And it's a very like disempowering feeling. And because you're like, oh, well, it doesn't matter about social media and this and that. But even all those followers who I wanted to start a podcast and show them, I can't show them on that page and say that we have the Saucy Sibz now and come follow me over here. They'll never see it.
Never
I don't
see it.
exist to them.
It's like being benched on a team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're on the team, but no one's going to see you.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a really interesting, it's a really interesting predicament to be in right now, like at this stage in my career, because, you know, restart, it's just like a whole other thing to have to deal with.
Yeah.
And I ideally, so back in 16, I started a nonprofit that I had big hopes and dreams for. It was a mental health music nonprofit called the Learn to Fly Project, after the Foo Fighters song, because that song was so impactful in my life. But it was basically creating an online safe place for musicians to have a private place, kind of like a Discord.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like to interact with their fans, share, unreleased stuff, first drafts of songs, talk about the mental health stuff, and just kind of have it be not Instagram where you have vultures watching you,
Right.
waiting to pounce and take what you have for whatever they want to do with it. This is like, no, the way that I wanted to structure it was you pay like $1 a month per artist you follow, and that money can either go to help supporting them or go to a nonprofit.
Okay.
And just having the vulture mentality of the social media stuff is, I think, what creeps me out so much. I can go on about my car accident and how that whole thing really put social media in like a really bad light for me. But I would love to just be able to share authentically with people and know that there's not either an algorithm or bots or somebody else looking to sabotage that connection, you know?
It's a weird space. Also, with the bots, I don't know if you watched Harry and Meghan's documentary.
I didn't.
It was very interesting. They kind of found out that all this hate and all this stuff they were getting online, 70 to 80% of it was coming from like only 80 accounts. It was a team of bots. Like it had been orchestrated. It had been hired to sort of spread this anti-them like rhetoric. It wasn't real people. And that was like a weird thing they found out. It wasn't, oh, all these people out here hate. It was
80 accounts. And it's just a giant
over and over
attack.
in different. Yeah. That it was hired. It wasn't actually. So it formed the public opinion because that's what it looked like. It's like, oh, there's 700,000 posts about this and that. And like, no matter how you feel about them, I don't really know how I feel about them, but
I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. It's not my thing, but it was very interesting that they kind of showed and they dug into the back end that all this public opinion that everyone was thinking that people had about them, it wasn't real people.
Yeah.
And that it was just teams of bots that were told to like go out and say these things. And I was like, it's a weird world because perception is reality.
Yeah. And that's what propaganda is. I mean,
Yeah.
and like tech is so fucking real and so powerful, and it can be used for good or for bad or agenda, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a weapon if we let
yeah.
it be one. You know, it depends on whose side you're on in terms of what you want to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that goes back to the whole thing. Like, if not me, then who?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, me too.
Whatever.
Which, by the way, I got to hear more about you and your situation with your Russian friend.
Oh, I'm seeing a Russian man.
It's amazing.
Actually,
He might be a CIA spy. We're not sure.
Not sure.
Are you
Yeah.
blink twice if
I
you
like.
can talk about
I think he's fine, but like, he's great. But you know, sometimes I'm like,
Actually, do you want to know the funniest situation? And we told Alison before she came on the pod today. Nick worked until 6 a.m. last night. I was support working. I don't know. I was with Nick's Russian lover. He handed me some chocolates. I accidentally went to the moon on mushrooms. And it was one of those, like, I was like, I can't go home and be by myself right now because I am traveling through time and space. So I'm just going to sit at the end of the bar and hang out. Also, what you didn't hear earlier of the funniest situation also happened is a man came home with us last night. And this is a thing people do.
what?
death to bisexuals. Put them to death.
No, Nick's like, I'm not
I'm
biphobic.
kidding.
But there's this weird thing with us as siblings that people who are bisexual, they're like, I don't know who to choose.
And I'm like, not Francesca and I do not want to hear that. Don't
Nope.
ever say that to us.
Don't
Ever.
I don't know
Was
if this is
there any sort of like invitation from either of you that
No.
this
No,
person
no, no.
thought
We're
that it
Well,
was
I was kind of flirting with him.
I thought I
Yeah.
was flirting with them. So usually it's like a separate thing and we don't know what's happening. They do.
Oh
And
my
so I
goodness.
came
This
up to Nick and I
happens a decent amount?
Yes.
Yeah, it's so fucking
What?
weird.
Yes. And
Oh.
he said to you, I don't know who to choose.
Yeah, he was like, man, you and your sister are both so hot. I don't even know it. And I was like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
It's like, we're not
like-
competing. We're not
It-
interested.
it's like, you've never been like so hot to so not sexy immediately so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
don't ever do that.
But it was like a weird thing. I was like, oh, I think he's coming back to like hang out with me. And Nick's like, oh no, he's coming back to hang out with me. And I was like, great.
wild. And this is
Yeah.
last night.
This,
Yeah.
last night. This was this morning. This
Yeah,
was
it was
like 7
6
a.m.
Gosh.
Yeah, yeah. He's a great dude. He was fine.
He's
He was fine.
you
But-
seem exhausted by the whole
You guys had a little
Francesca,
cuddle
this
session.
we
I,
did.
We
I
just
closed
cuddled
my
made
door.
out.
I'm not.
But I was like, I have a podcast in the morning. I really
In
like
3
her. I
hours.
don't know her that well, so like, I just need to like show up. But that's the thing. This is why this isn't Barbara Walters. That's why we're like socks
That's
off
why we're
and like
just
lounging. Where I'm like,
Yeah.
no. Like, the show must go on. It's
Mhm.
happening. I just like, we just like wanted to show up. Like,
Yeah.
we were worried about like showing up properly for you because we really are fans. Like, I mean, we just think you're super cool.
No,
I
I was
think
like,
you
we
guys
have
are
a
super cool.
big
I
podcast
know.
tomorrow, like someone we've been so excited to have on for so long. And I was like, what a
I don't.
interesting turn our night took.
Yeah.
I'm on the moon. This man thinks he's coming home with both of us. I'm like,
I didn't know I was gonna work till 6 a.m. Like, it was just like kind of. I was like, okay, here we go. But I also can like really pull it together. Like,
That is one of the best party tricks to have is to be
Yeah.
able to
Mhm.
like show up and
yeah,
slap some water on your face and be able to carry on.
I'm gifted at it.
it's
And-
kind
I
of
used to
wild.
be.
Our dad also says this thing. He goes, Francesca, piazzas do our best work hungover. Just
It's just like a thing he says, and I'm always like, you're right.
I got this.
It's like I went
It's your 8 mile
110%
moment.
last night. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like I went 110% last night, so show up 110% right now, and that shit will be multiplied to like, you know,
exactly.
exactly,
Sleep when we're dead.
exactly.
being tired
Yeah.
is a choice.
It is. It's a state of mind.
It
know.
really is. And you can, I looked at Nick this morning and I go, I don't know, because I didn't party hard. It was an accidental party. And I was like, and he goes, Francesca, we're professionals. We're saucy. He goes, this isn't something, we
We're
don't show
saucy.
up and pretend to be different. He was like, we're going to show up as ourselves and have our conversation. And because I was like, do we need to like cancel? And he was like, absolutely not. Who do you think we are?
I know. I was like, Francesca, as if the DJ Danger Foley has never stayed up late. You know what I mean?
Of course. We're all feeling it. And
I know.
I agree.
Yeah.
Tired is a state of mind, or you
Yeah.
can choose it. It's a choice. However, I get socially like burnt out so much quicker than I used to.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if this is necessarily the case for everybody, but like I think those couple of years just being not around as many people, it's like, woo,
Yeah.
the capacity for small talk is close to zero. Like for the people that just, I don't know. It's like you either want to talk about important stuff or you don't.
I think it's a good thing though. I don't have the capacity for small talk either. I want it to be real or I'm not there. And we had talked about this like with alcohol. That's one thing like I found like when I was sober, and it was interesting. I realized I didn't stay anywhere I didn't want to be when you're sober. It's like sometimes I think we drink to get through things we not get through. It's like, oh, you're at a party, like, oh, I'll have a drink, and it makes it interesting. When I was sober, you're painfully aware of conversations you don't want to be in, places you don't want to be in. Like I was dipping. That's one thing I noticed when I wasn't drinking. I was like, if I wasn't feeling the vibe and it wasn't authentic, I would just dip.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel bad. I didn't whatever. But when drinking, I'm like, oh, well, I'll just have a couple drinks and like hang out. One of the coolest things about being sober is you're not anywhere you don't want to be.
And you can leave.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like
You can drive.
It's not an Uber that if you go to the next spot and that place is weird, then you got to take another Uber. And it's like, if you drive, you have all the control in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Are you drinking right now or no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're both on the Saucy train.
Both on the Saucy train.
Yes.
It's honestly such a blast of a train to be on. My only reason for taking a break indefinitely until I feel like it is mid-February. We were down in Mexico. We were planning on spending the entire month of February in Mexico City. Reed's mom got sick with stage 4 lung cancer, diagnosed in late November. In January, she took a really bad turn, and January 29th is when she passed away. And so it just shifted our plans. We ended up only going to Mexico City for a week and a half. And my whole thing was, at the time especially, I was dealing with some really gnarly anxiety just around a lot of politics. Like it was just like a lot of being so aware of current events that it was just this depression and guilt and, all of these big realizations of how lucky I am and how great I have it here and feeling guilty for that, all of that stuff. Started to feel a lot of anxiety and wanted to just go be in an electric city for a month, find a gym close by, eat different food and just be immersed. So that didn't happen. We were down there for a week and a half, just kind of bopping around hotels for Art Week. Had a great time, but it was the opposite of rejuvenating. Like dessert with every meal, Aperol spritzes like coming out of my nose, like And when it came time to leave, we were like, "Do we go home?" And it was like, "No, we can't go home. Like we need to reconnect, like with each other." And like he needed to just grieve his mom.
Yeah.
And we had been around people every day for like 6 days, 7 days. So I started looking around online for retreats, like yoga retreats and stuff like that, and came across a psilocybin wellness retreat. And I want to figure out a way to talk about this without throwing Reed into a position with his work.
Okay.
So I'm going to try and be vague, I guess.
Yeah.
But so yeah, we found this retreat center and I called them and was like, "Hey, I see that you guys," it was in Sayulita. And I called them and said, "I see that you guys are sold out through the end of the summer. The situation is, my partner's mom just passed away. This feels really important." And she was like, "Yeah, I agree. It does feel really important. We are sold out entirely, but I'll make a phone call. Let me see what I can do. Like, give me a second." She called me back and was like, "Essentially, we're going to offer you your own retreat." And they put us up in this beautiful condo overlooking the ocean, whales jumping, and we did a ceremony with a shaman. And the night before, they brought in a hypnotherapist for us, private chef. Wasn't that crazy? I mean, it was expensive, but it wasn't for what we got. We did breath work with a facilitator. They had guardians and everything. But we did this ceremony with a medicine woman and the shaman, and Reed's experience was just beautiful. Got to like grieve his mom, have this beautiful moment, like literally watching whales.
Right. Wow.
And my experience was a lot more intense.
Yeah.
And I had done 2, and this, by the way, this wasn't psilocybin.
Yeah.
The craziest part about this was that the shaman was like, I'm in retirement, but I would, if you're interested in Bufo, DMT.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we did Bufo, and this was my 3rd ceremony that I've ever done. The first ceremony that I did was to try and get through the trauma of an ayahuasca ceremony that I did, which that's a whole other, that could be a horror movie. My ayahuasca ceremony, literally epic horror movie, amazing plot. But this was my 3rd one. I could have taken it or leave it, or leaving.
Taking or leaving it.
Leaving Levin.
Taking it or loving it.
Yeah. But I basically went to hell. It was intense. I'm not sure if either of you have ever done it.
No.
I've never done ayahuasca. I've done DMT. But.
You've done, okay.
I've never done DMT. I did salvia once. And when you say hell, that was, it's only 15 or it was a 30 seconds or a minute. For me, it felt like years.
Yeah.
And I descended into hell, and I didn't know what salvia was. I thought it was weed, and I thought my friends were giggling. They smoked this thing and giggled. And I was convinced that because I had smoked it in those 30 seconds, it was 3 years.
Yeah.
I thought the world had descended into hell and it was my fault.
Oh.
And I couldn't get out.
Oh.
So the hardcore psychedelics scare me just because that one tiny little one, and it was legal at the time in Missouri, I think it still is, scared me so much. I was I know what a bad trip is, and I couldn't imagine it for 8 hours.
Right.
Of real
Totally,
time.
of ayahuasca stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it very much requires a lot of respect. And, you see these DMT pens and stuff at parties, and I did the toad, which was very ceremonial. And I'm just I don't know how people could do that in a party environment.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially, after my experience, after my ceremony, in my past 2, I had done 3 rounds each. So basically you come out and then you go back in, and then you come out and then you go back in. After this one, I had felt such shame and self-loathing that I was literally laying in the fetal position weeping, just feeling such disgust for myself that Reed saw me in that space, and just. Yeah. And the shaman asked if I was ready to go again, and my response was "fuck no."
Yeah.
Meaning give me a minute, but they took that as I was done, and so they packed up. And usually the first one is where you get acclimated, you fall off the cliff. Second one is where you explore, and the third one is where you kind of pick up the gold.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt when they left that I was left with the skeletons in the middle of the living room after you pull them out of the closet. And the shaman came up to me, or actually the medicine woman came up to me first and literally grabbed me by the face, in a gentle way, like a grandma. And she was like, "You're the messenger. You brought him here, and you're the messenger out there. You already have what you need."
Mm-hmm. And
the shaman came and was like, "We would really love to offer you our other owner's condo for you guys to have for the night. It was a penthouse, gorgeous, 360 view." He was like, "Just go down to the beach together, watch the ocean, see what comes up." And what came up for me, it was and I'm not sure if you guys have ever felt this, but I feel very in touch with my highest self these days. But it was this kind of a teasing pep talk of "Oh, you just thought that you would do this for fun? You thought that you just dabble? No, enough. You already have what you came for.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And get to work. Enough wasting time. Enough trying to self-diagnose and do this questioning of, oh, am I on the right path? Am I qualified, like, should I really be doing this? It's like, just shut the fuck up and do your job.
Yeah.
Just shut up and do what you came here to do.
Wow.
And the crazy thing about it is, like, after that, like, the signs have just been coming in like crazy. And from that day on, I mean, we had done a dieta as best we could because we literally decided to go to this 2 days after I made that phone call because they got us in. And since we got back, neither of us have had any craving whatsoever for alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've heard about this. It can, do that.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, an espresso martini sounds great, but it literally is this like switch that flipped in my brain where it's like, okay, and then you're going to waste tomorrow because you're going to feel like shit, and then you're going to get Chick-fil-A, obviously. And then it's just like this cycle of like, that's not what we're here for anymore. And
No, I liked Alison and I were DMing, and she was like, hey, I haven't drank in like 3 months. And she was like, I forget exactly what you said, but you were like, this life is amazing. You were right. Like, I don't know if you said I inspired you, but like, you're like, I know you're on this life. And I was like, it's funny that I'm off that right now, but it is like a weird frequency shift because when I wasn't, I was like, I had to have friends be like, how do you do it? And I was like, I can't think of anything that alcohol would make anything better for.
Right.
I was really, it does flip a switch in your brain. And I think there's the chemical part of it. I think it can be enjoyed in certain situations. Like, I appreciate it for what it is. And I liked my time because I realized I like didn't have a problem and I felt okay with it. Like, it wasn't taking over my life. But there is something that when I don't know, your life levels up in a different way. And I don't know how to explain it to people who haven't taken a long break because it takes like 6 or 7 weeks for something in your brain to like, it clicks.
Totally.
And you get on a different frequency. So
I've never done it.
You've never taken a long break?
I did a month off when I was in Taiwan working on a banana farm.
I can't imagine, like, when I was trying to do it, like, I'm like, I'm going to do dry January and sober October and all these things. And you get 5 days in. Yeah. You're like, fuck it. Like, YOLO, you know, whatever. Like, you say the things that, and if I didn't truly not have the craving, I would for sure be like having a cocktail right now. You know what I mean? Like, it has nothing to do with any sort of like judgment or like restriction that I put on. I'm just like, I don't really feel like it today. Yeah. Maybe I'll feel like it tomorrow.
Yeah. And that's how I always felt with it, is because people are like, oh, are you going to do this forever? At the time, like anytime I do take long breaks, I'm like, oh, absolutely. I'm doing this forever because it's better. But I never put that on myself. I was like, if I do, I do. Yeah. And when I go back, I may not. But I'm like really appreciative when you message me that I'm getting whispers back from the universe of going back to that. But like I said, I'm not from a space of like being mad at myself that I am right now. I was like, I'll get back on it and it's okay sometimes. But when you messaged me that, I was like, damn. Well, because I get a weird jealousy. Isn't that funny? Yeah. Like, I'm jealous that you're on that train right now and I'm not. And it
does weird things to people, you know, when it's, you and I spoke about this briefly earlier, but when you're drinking with somebody, like, especially like a little bit of day drinking, you know, like, it's a way to have like a private conversation because both parties are relaxed. It's like putting your swords on the table and like just talking, you know, just buddies. And when someone's not drinking, as I said to you before, like their energy comes up where it's like, oh, so what are you, a cop? Like, huh. Yeah. We were in a wire? Yeah. Huh? And it's like, there's just an element of trust that comes up when all parties involved are, you know, relaxing. And that's what, it's just interesting because I am so grateful that Reed is also on this same chapter. Because it would be really hard if someone was, you know, making you like a really good gin and tonic, like, and just like put it right there. It's like, how could you do that, especially if your partner's the one making it, right? Yeah. So I think having a partner in crime to try and you know, work through the social aspect of it is really helpful. But yeah, there's there's a real joy in being on the train too.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's just like what we talked about before, how you use it. If it's a tool to relax and to connect with people, then hell yeah. But if it's a way to numb your shit and run away and, you know, blow up your life, you might want to look at it. You know?
Yeah. No, and with everything, that, you know, we're all on the energy train and we live in that world, but it really is your intention with it.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I've drank when I've been sad or lonely, and I've drank happy and hanging out with my friends, and it's two fully different lives, two totally different experiences. And I like it there for the fun, but it's good to notice when you are using it for like covering up other things.
Yeah.
Totally.
It has like an expiration date, you know. Almost,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
It's I mean, even just talking about like sobriety, like I've been getting some whispers and stuff for a long time, and I'm sorry, I'm not even holding this.
You're good.
See how good your AI is. But yeah, there's something shifting with people in general, and like, I don't know. It's kind of, it does feel like the ones who you can like look in the eye and almost just have it be that simple.
Yeah.
And it's probably as simple as almost looking each other in the eye versus the people who don't want to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I was, again, a lot of the little nuggets and gems that I find are from TikTok.
Hey.
But this girl was talking about, you know, as you grow in your consciousness and everything that we're all learning and expanding in right now, she's like, sometimes you got to put it down and like integrate it and then be a human and go get more experience and not be coming from this place of Zen perfectionism all the time of like, be a human, be a kid, go fuck up, go eat like shit, go on a trip where you're listening to bass music all the time and just be a human, because there's a real important piece of that too. Like, you're not going to grow sitting on top of a mountain.
Yeah.
Go be out there and fuck around and find out.
Live your life.
Fuck around and find out. We're going to leave it at that.
I love that.
Thank you so much for being here.
Guys,
It's a lot of fun.
I love it.
Yeah.
Middle of
Say
a
when.
Sunday.
Middle of a
No,
Sunday.
It's Saturday.
Sunday.
Oh, it's Sunday. Oh, okay.
Wah, wah, wah.
Right. It's Sunday. I knew that.
I know. You got me really excited for a second there.
Yeah.
I
I
wish.
was like, oh, we gotta. Nope. Tomorrow's Monday.
Monday.
All right.
All
Be
right.
nice.
You don't need to
Come on.
throw hands
Gentle,
like that.
gentle.
Well, you guys, we are gonna drop all of Alison's stuff. Go follow her. Go sign up. And you know, I don't know. Maybe we'll all make another platform. I think that's what the world needs to connect with our people. But for right now, we got podcasting
We got podcasting,
Yep.
and signing up. And
Instagram.
I was gonna say, where can the
TikTok.
people follow you? Are we going to your website? Where are we?
Yep. Got a new website up,
Okay.
dangerfoleymusic.com.
Perfect.
And Instagram for now, Danger Foley Music.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see
Yeah.
what happens with that. And I'm going to be getting much better about interacting on TikTok while we have it, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think also my YouTube presence. So
Okay.
might see you guys there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well, cool.
thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you.
No, this was perfect. Cheers, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.